Welcome to Tales at Scale, a podcast that cracks open the world of analytics projects. I'm your host, Rena from Imply, and I'm here to bring you stories from developers doing cool things with Apache Druid, real-time data and analytics, but way beyond your basic BI. I'm talking about analytics applications that are taking data and insights to a whole new level. So if you work in tech at all, or even if you don't, you've probably heard of Atlassian. Atlassian provides collaboration, development, and issue tracking software for all kinds of teams. One of their most popular products is Confluence, which is an industry-leading team workspace cloud application used for collaboration, knowledge sharing, and more. And I actually use that myself pretty much every day. The Confluence Big Data team is responsible for building and maintaining the user-facing analytics features within Confluence, bringing user behavior insights to the end user. And spoiler, they're using Druid and Imply to do so. Joining me today to take me through the project are Gautam Jethwani, software engineer at Atlassian, and Selladurai, Selvakumari, senior software engineer at Atlassian. Gautam, Kazi, welcome to the show.
Hi, Rena. Thank you.
Hello, Rena. Nice to be here.
So I like to kick off every episode with a little bit about you and your journey and how you got to where you are today. So can you both introduce yourselves a little bit and tell me about your background and how you got to where you are today?
Sure. I can go first. Hello, I'm Kasi. I'm a senior software engineer at Atlassian. I've been at Atlassian for about 3 years now. I have a master's in computer science and I live in the Bay Area. Apart from work, I have a 1-year-old. So a lot of my time these days are spending time with her and playing with her.
Aww, they're so cute when they're that age.
True. Yeah, she's very cute.
Cool. I'm Gautam. I'm a software engineer at Atlassian. I've been with Atlassian for about 2 years full time, and I interned with them in 2020. I also have a master's in computer science from USC, and I live in the Bay Area. When I'm not coding or software engineering, I am looking for the best places to do outdoor sport climbing in the Bay Area.
Ooh, that sounds exciting.
Can be, not as much as Druid.
Well, okay. All right. You don't have to ham it up. This is only the beginning of the show. All right. So, like I said in the intro, a lot of people are familiar with Atlassian. If they haven't used, Jira or Confluence before, do they even work in tech? I kind of actually, since you're on the Confluence team, I want to focus on that. But on the off chance that someone hasn't used it, can you tell me what Confluence is?
Yeah, I can take this one. So Confluence is basically Atlassian's wiki and open collaboration tool. It allows companies to host their knowledge base in a secure and reliable way and enables teams to collaborate in a more effective way in today's remote era. So if you're at work and you need to gain knowledge about anything, Confluence is the place you look.
And so can you tell me a little bit about your team and what you're working on for Confluence?
Yeah, for sure. So we are on the Confluence Big Data Platform team. Our mission is to supercharge Confluence with insights that accelerate and transform teamwork.
Also, in recent times, we have expanded our domain to power other Confluence features such as recently viewed pages, spaces, as well as homepage feed experience like popular and following feeds.
Very cool. So you mentioned Druid up front. Can you tell me a little bit about, why you were looking for Druid or a little bit about what your tech stack was like prior to adopting it?
Yeah, so before using Druid, we were actually using Postgres as our main database, and our queries were running very, very slow. We were basically storing billions of analytics events in a Postgres database. Granted, we did have one schema per customer or per tenant. But even then, our performance still got very, very slow. For our biggest tenants, it would go up to 60 seconds for some queries as our data set grew. So obviously something needed to change. And we switched to Druid, and it has enabled us to grow and onboard new use cases, which we would have never been able to do in sub 10-second query time for even our biggest queries.
Wow, you were sub 10 seconds, did you say?
Sub 10 seconds for our biggest ones, the ones that used to take more than 60 seconds. And most of our queries run in sub-second latency.
Cool. So, latency was part of the reason that prompted a search for a new database?
Oh yeah, most definitely a lot of the reason. But there are a few more that Kasi can go over.
Yeah, so as Gautam mentioned, we were using Postgres and we had quite a few challenges with that. The first one was high maintenance cost. So we used to have one schema per tenant. So, for example, if there are n tenants, then we would have n schemas. So, any migrations and changes to database level things became really hard. Another overhead was we had to maintain some of the aggregations in code instead of database doing it for us in a performant way. A key thing with Postgres performance were vacuums. Think of vacuum as garbage collection in Postgres. And this was really ineffective for us as they didn't help much in query performance, and we had to maintain a separate task to run this periodically. The second biggest thing was slow response time. I think Gautam talked about it a little bit. So the queries were really slow, especially for our enterprise customers. To give you some data point, our P99 for site analytics query were above 6 seconds for our enterprise customers. As you can see, this was a big bottleneck for us as that's not a great user experience. The third biggest thing was it was really expensive to deliver new smart experiences with the way we have structured things. We had to make a lot of data model changes for even delivering a simple feature.
So what it really boiled down to at the end of the day is that we're an analytics team and we needed an analytics database. With Druid, we were able to support low latency data ingestion, fast queries, accommodating growing data sets, scale for future use cases, all benefits of scale that we didn't get with Postgres.
When did you guys first hear about Druid?
So our team did a spike on Druid around 2020-ish. This was before Gautam or I joined the team.
Okay, so you kind of like inherited it. Did you know about Druid prior to joining this team?
Actually, when I was interning in 2020, we were still in Postgres, but I was hearing whispers of it in the team, Druid. And actually, during that time, I was tasked with cleaning up our Postgres database. And then when 1 year later I rejoined full time, they were already on Druid. So I was like, what did I clean up for?
So let's go into like a little more detail. Why did Druid work for some of these use cases that we've just been talking about?
Yeah, for sure. So Druid gave us, like I said, like a lot of things that Postgres didn't give us. First things first is column-oriented storage. It loaded the exact columns needed for a particular query, which is a great optimization that Postgres didn't give us. Postgres would be loading in entire rows at a time that we didn't need. Time-based partitioning. Obviously, we all know that Druid partitions data by time into segments, meaning we only access the data that matches the time range in our query, which is great because most of our queries are actually time range based. There's also pre-aggregation at ingestion time. We can have automatic summarization of data at ingestion time, allowing us to boost performance, but also save on storage and remove a lot of aggregation code from our code base, which again is another huge code cleanup that we were able to do. Approximation algorithms, it supports algorithms to quickly compute expensive aggregates by trading off accuracy at both ingestion and query time. And ingestion is a huge one. It can ingest millions of events within seconds, supporting both real-time and batch ingestion. The batch ingestion allowed us to backfill so we can easily onboard new data for new use cases. And the native real-time ingestion allows us to offload the ingestion from our main service, which again just took a bunch of load off of our main Docker container. And it was great. It really helped our performance and code maintainability.
So we have established you're using Postgres before. Can you walk me through how you switched over to Druid?
Sure. The first things was we spun up the Druid cluster, ingested real-time data, backfilled the past data. So we got to a state where we had the same data flowing into both the systems. Now, we wanted to validate the data written by the queries. So in order to do that, we decided to start operating Druid in production in shadow mode. So whenever a query was made to Postgres, we emitted the equivalent query to Druid asynchronously. We then automatically compared results and reported the diffs to our observability system. So this pretty much enabled us to roll this feature out without any customer impact, as we were able to correct all discrepancies before fully rolling out to production and using Druid. So once 100% of the traffic started going to Druid, we decommissioned our Postgres cluster, and yeah, we threw a party. That was a great moment. We didn't have any elephant in the room.
Awesome, awesome. I love to hear that. And thank you for explaining like shadow mode to me because that would have been a follow up question.
Yeah, glad that could help.
Okay, so you guys were presenters at Druid Summit last year in 2022. And you mentioned in your presentation the ability to onboard platform APIs. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So platform APIs are just APIs that are meant to serve a singular purpose for any use case, not just powering UI experiences. So it allows other teams to come in and use our data for their own use cases. Any team can come in and be like, hey, we need this data. And we'll be like, great, we'll whip up an API for you real quick. So this allowed us to take some of the computational load away from Confluence itself, because they could just use our APIs for different queries and experiences that they were already powering. And Druid's native query types were really powerful here because they allowed us to very quickly create these APIs, as most of these use cases fit within the buckets of the different native query types. So it was basically just plug and play for most of our APIs. And the code is, again, very easy, very readable, very maintainable.
Very cool. So, okay. So, what does your architecture look like now? Can you kind of give me a brief, this is an audio podcast overview?
Well, I'll try to do justice to that. So, Druid helps us in faster real-time access, and it's the heart of our behavioral event system. In Atlassian, we have a central event bus platform. Multiple servers can write and consume from the event bus in a pub-sub fashion. Our team, for example, consumes from Atlassian's event bus using multiple Kinesis stream and then writes it to Druid.
Oh, okay. Cool, cool, cool. What does your data volume look like by any chance? Like, how many events are you dealing with on a daily basis?
On a weekday, when we get most of our traffic, it could probably be like 1 billion events that we ingest, and Druid doesn't even break a sweat.
Okay, okay. So, how is the performance? Like, kind of give me a ballpark. What are you dealing with right now?
Well, it's definitely way faster than Postgres. It would be kind of disappointing if it wasn't, if we were getting more than 60-second request time.
Oh God, yeah, that would definitely be a problem.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
But Druid returns mostly in just a couple seconds. It's very lightning fast.
And you just said for ingestion you're using Kinesis?
Yeah, Kinesis. Actually, so we are an AWS house, and with our event platform support, Kinesis is something that we can easily use to ingest data into Druid.
Speaking of Druid, we've had a lot of releases, like 26 and 27 are both out at this point of this recording. Is there anything that you're excited about on the upcoming roadmap, or anything on your wish list that you would like to see added to Druid to make your lives a little easier?
Yes, we do. We are really excited about the multi-stage query engine and the potential it has to do backfills better. We haven't got a chance to use it yet, but I'm pretty sure that it will come in handy the next time we want to change some data. Uh, I have a couple of wish lists. The first one is updates in Druid. While Druid is really good with ingesting large volumes of data, when it comes to updating a particular attribute in a data source, it becomes really hard. Wish there is a better way to do it without ever have to like re-ingesting everything. The second one would be auto scaling in Druid. A few times in the past, we had to scale our Druid cluster based on the traffic patterns, which Druid automatically scales for us. Yeah, those are the two wish lists that I had.
Cassie's already sent these to Santa. He's hoping he was a good developer this year.
Well, I think the roadmap is actually published now too on Druid's GitHub, so we can see if any of those things are on the roadmap or when they're coming. So we were just talking about that actually the other day. Okay. So do you have any advice for people who have maybe been struggling with similar challenges that you were faced with? Maybe they're also still on Postgres and not seeing the query performance that they're looking for. What advice could you give them, or how could they get started?
Oh yeah, loads. So it's all a learning game. Druid is an incredibly powerful but also very complex piece of technology. I always tell new hires to our team that Druid is a beast that is not to be trifled with, and it's the very first thing they should learn. So my advice would be to learn and understand the technology fully before diving in. You can never learn too much, never understand too much. Learn about the different query types, the architecture, the node types, how data is stored, ingested, clarity, debugging, anything and everything you can. To this day, I'm still learning myself, and I work on Druid every day. But most importantly, have fun with it. It's super cool to see your data ingested, processed, queried, and just queries returning results in a couple of seconds, scanning through billions and billions of rows of data.
I mean, not to plug, but Imply can also help you. If you are new to Druid, we have some resources available to help you get started. And then there's always the fantastic open source community. Head over to the Apache Druid Slack channel if you have questions. Everyone there is super nice and very, very helpful. I mean, I think that's going to do it for my questions for you guys today, unless there's anything else you want to cover.
No, I think that's it. I think we talk about Druid a lot, and this pretty much covers it.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Gautam. Thank you, Kazi, for joining me today.
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
Thank you, Reena.
All right, to learn more about Confluence or anything that Atlassian is up to, please visit Atlassian.com. To learn more about Druid, please visit druid.apache.org. And to hear more about what we're working on at Imply, please visit imply.io. Until next time, keep it real.